Stock market highlights: Sensex ends 300 points lower after volatile trade. Nifty below 24,800. Stock market highlights in the seesaw trade following US imposition of 25 tariffs and penalty on India. The Indian stock markets ended in red on Thursday. The benchmark index Sensex settled nearly 300 points lower at 81,185, while Nifty fell 86 points to end at 24,768. As of 3 p.m., the BSE Sensex was trading lower by 300 points to trade at 81,180.13, while the NSE Nifty shed 100 points to trade below 24,800. During afternoon, the benchmark indices recovered the losses to trade almost 150 points higher, though it again turned to red near the closing of the market hours. At the market opening, the NiftyBelow24800 had declined 182.60 points, or 0.73, to 24,668.20, while the Sensex was down 611.48 points, or 0.75, at 80,870.38. The Sensex had hit the day's low of 81,695.15 and the Nifty fell to 24,635 during the morning trade before staging a sharp recovery in the afternoon. Trump, in a sharp rebuke, stated that India imposes some of the highest tariffs in the world and maintains the most strenuous and obnoxious non-monetary trade barriers of any country. He also warned of further penalties tied to India's continued energy imports from Russia. With this announcement, India now faces one of the steepest US tariff regimes. In comparison, Vietnam faces 20 tariffs, Indonesia 19, and Japan 15. Brazil, meanwhile, received temporary relief from a proposed 50 tariff. Sectors expected to be most impacted include garments, pharmaceuticals, gems and jewelry, automotive, and petrochemicals, areas that form a significant part of India's exports to the US. The board of directors of Maruti Suzuki India Limited today approved the financial results for the period April-June, FY 202,526 Q1. NAN in Q1, the domestic passenger vehicle industry continued to witness a sluggish demand environment. NAN for the company, a decline in domestic sales of 4.5 was compensated by a robust 37.4 growth in exports, resulting in an overall sales volume increase of 1.1 for the quarter, year-on-year. The company sold a total of 527,861 vehicles during the quarter, comprising domestic sales of 430,889 units and exports of 96,972 units. NAN during the quarter, the company registered net sales of INR 366,247 million as against INR 338,753 million in Q1 of FY 2024-25. NAN the net profit for the quarter increased to INR 37,117 million from INR 36,499 million in Q1 FY 2024-25. A growth of 1.7.1. The bank's profit after tax PAT for Q1 FY 2026 was at INR 157 crore. In comparison, profit after tax for Q1 FY 2025 was at INR 131 crore, growth of 20. NAN 2 advances growth year-on-year was at 21, year-on-year mortgages growth 17, Ding growth 162. Construction finance growth 34 and agri-inclusive banking growth 12 and deposits growth year-on-year was at 20. NAN3 the gross NPA as on June 30, 2025, was at 2.98. Net NPA was at 1.22 as on June 30, 2025. The provision coverage ratio PCR as on June 30, 2025 was at 74.04 and PCR without considering gold loans and base was at 75.00. NAN 4 capital adequacy continues to be strong and as on June 30, 2025, the capital adequacy ratio was at 16.66 with Tier I at 14.20 and Tier 2 at 2.46 as per Basel III norms. DBS Foundation has partnered with the Nudge Institute and committed SGD 9.98 million 65.56 crore over 4 years. Through the DBS Foundation x the Nudge Institute's Economic Inclusion Program, it aims to provide alternative, dignified, comprehensive, and sustainable livelihood opportunities for underserved households. This partnership will support the Nudge Institute in enabling the economic inclusion of approximately 85,000 low-income households in Gujarat and Jharkhand, in line with its goal of supporting greater financial stability. It aligns with DBS Foundation's commitment to uplifting the lives and livelihoods of vulnerable communities. Guided by its dual focus of providing essential needs and fostering inclusion, DBS Foundation equips the underserved with access to the likes of food, education, healthcare, as well as the skills needed to thrive. Nifty Bank rebounds sharply. The Nifty Bank Index staged a strong recovery from intraday lows on Wednesday, as markets shook off initial jitters from U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff announcement and rebounded across sectors. Earlier in the session, benchmark indices opened deep in the red after Trump proposed a 25% tariff and an additional penalty on India. However, sentiment improved through the day, driving a sharp reversal in the broader market. The Nifty Bank Index, which had fallen over 600 points in early trade to hit a low of 55,547, rallied more than 750 points 1.4 from that level to swing into positive territory. As of latest trade, the index was up nearly 150 points 0.27 at 56,300. Stock market live updates. Sensex, Bank EX, and Sensex 50 turned green intraday during the recovery on Thursday. India's real estate sector is showing signs of cautious yet promising recovery in the second quarter of 2025, according to the latest Knight Frank NAREDCO Real Estate Sentiment Index. The report highlights a notable uptick in stakeholder optimism, with the sentiment index rising to 56 in Q2 2025 from 54 in Q1, breaking a four-quarter downward trend. The future sentiment score also climbed significantly to 61 from 56, reflecting growing confidence in the sector's performance over the next 6 months. This resurgence is largely driven by robust demands for premium homes priced above Rs 1 crore, alongside easy financing conditions and strategic developers focusing on high-demand micro-market. With developers tailoring new launches to meet evolving lifestyle preferences and urban expansion patterns, the premium housing segments, particularly properties exceeding Rs 1 crore, has emerged as a key driver growth. Approximately 70 stakeholders anticipate that residential launches will either remain steady or increase in the coming month, with the Rs 1 crore plus segment outperforming due to strong demand in select markets. As part of boosting India's indigenous semiconductor production from designing to manufacturing, the India government has sanctioned 23 chip design projects under the Design-Linked Incentive (DLI) scheme, as informed by the Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology Jiten Prasida in the Lok Sabha. Former IndusInd Bank CEO Sumant Kathpalia has proposed a Rs 5.21 crore settlement to the Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI) to resolve an insider trading case, according to a report by the Economic Times. NANSPA's settlement mechanism allows individuals accused of regulatory violations to resolve matters without admitting or denying wrongdoing, by paying a settlement amount. In May, SEBI had barred Kathpalia and 4 other senior IndusInd Bank officials from accessing the securities markets over alleged insider trading. The regulator also impounded Rs 19.78 crore from the 5 individuals, as per its interim order. The others named in the order include Arun Khurana, Executive Director and Deputy CEO at the time, Sushant Saurav, Head of Treasury Operations, Rohan Jaithana, Head of GMG Operations, and Anil Marco Rao, CAO Consumer Banking Operations. The Indian stock markets turned green in the afternoon trade on Thursday, after a negative opening following U.S. imposition of 25% tariffs and penalty on India. As of 1,258, the BSE Sensex was trading higher by 156 points to trade at 81,634.13. While the NSE Nifty was trading 48 points up at 24,903. Nanhares are the 5 key factors behind the market recovery today. Trade negotiation optimism. Markets drew comfort from President Trump's assurance that trade talks with India will continue, despite his 25% tariff threat. Investors see it as a negotiating tactic, not a final stance. Nan crude price dip. Brent crude edged lower to $73.10 a barrel, easing inflation concerns for India, a major oil importer. NAN global market support strong cues from Asian markets and positive US equity futures lifted overall sentiment. NAN rupee rebounds. The rupee clawed back 14 pace to 87.66 against the dollar amid expectations of RBI intervention after hitting a sharp intraday low. NAN Fed rate cut hopes. Dovish signals from US Fed officials sparked hopes of a rate cut in September, adding to risk and sentiment globally. Indian equities witnessed a sharp sell-off on Wednesday, July 31st, with stocks in the IT, metal, and realty sectors falling over 1 each in early trade. The broader indices mirrored the weakness. Sensex declined 460 points to hover around 81,022, while Nifty dropped 141 points to 24,714. The decline came amid a double whammy of geopolitical and macroeconomic developments. NAN investor sentiment was hit after US President Donald Trump, in a post on Truth Social, announced a sweeping 25% tariff and additional penalties on Indian imports. While calling India a friend, he criticized New Delhi for maintaining some of the highest tariffs in the world and penalized it for continuing trade ties with Russia, particularly in the defense and energy sectors. The timing of the move just ahead of the August 1st trade framework rollout is added to concerns about deteriorating bilateral ties. Stock market live updates. Benchmark indices recovered over 600 points after hitting the day's low in the opening session on Thursday. Hindustan Unilever stocks were the top gainers by noon following Q1 results for FY 2025-26. HUL shares up 3% intraday, followed by Power Grid and Eternal in the 30 Sensex pack. NAN and pharmaceutical stocks came under pressure on Thursday, July 31st, after US President Donald Trump announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all Indian imports. The Nifty Pharma Index dropped 1.5, hitting a day's low of 22,724.7, as sentiment turned cautious across export-oriented sectors. NAN out of the 20 stocks on the index, 16 were trading in the red. Natco Pharma declined 1.7, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories 1.5, Lupin and IPCA Laboratories 1.3 each, while Zydus Life Sciences and Granules India also slipped over 1. NAN India exported more than 10 billion worth of generic drugs and active pharmaceutical ingredients APIs to the US in FY 25. The new tariffs now threaten to disrupt a bilateral trade relationship valued at nearly 129 billion annually. Hindustan Unilever Ltd HUL on Thursday reported a 6% year-on-year rise. Indiana its consolidated net profit to Rs 2,768 crore for the first quarter ended June 30, 2025. Its revenue in April-June 2025 increased 5% to Rs 16,323 crore. NANHUL's underlying volume growth UVG stood at 4% and underlying sales growth USG at 5% according to a regulatory filing. NAN after the announcement, shares of Hindustan Unilever Ltd HUL on Thursday jumped 3.9 to trade at Rs 2,533 on the NSE at 11.03 m. NANHUL's EBITDA earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization in Q1 FY 26 stood at Rs 3,718 crore, marginally down from Rs 3,744 crore in the year-ago period. Its EBITDA margin fell 130 basis points to 22.8%, in line with the company's guidance, as HUL continued to step up business investments. NAN its profit after tax before exceptional items, however, fell 5% year-on-year to Rs 2,526 crore. The NSDL IPO is witnessing its second day of bidding today, Thursday, July 31st. Till 10:37 a.m. on the second day of bidding on Thursday, the issue received a 0.97 times subscription, garnering bids for 339,18,228 shares as against the 3,51,27,002 shares on offer. The retail and NII participation stood at 1.07x and 1.64x, respectively. The QIB category has received a 0.26x subscription. NAN its GMP currently stands at 16.88 as against 15.75 recorded earlier, indicating decent listing gains for investors. Pharmaceutical stocks came under pressure on Thursday, July 31st, after US President Donald Trump announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all Indian imports. The Nifty Pharma Index dropped 1.5, hitting a day's low of 22,724.7, as sentiment turned cautious across export-oriented sectors. Aditya Infotech IPO till 10:30 a.m. on the final day of bidding on Thursday. The issue received a 9.68 times subscription, garnering bids for 10,30,51,630 shares as against the 1,06,41,266 shares on offer. The retail and NII participation stood at 25.94x and 17.86x, respectively. The QIB category has received a 0.27x subscription. NAN The IPO's grey market premium GMP currently stands at 42.22, indicating strong listing gains for investors. India Inc. has expressed disappointment over US President Donald Trump's announcement to impose a 25% tariff along with an unspecified penalty on Indian goods, effective August 1, calling the move unfortunate and a potential setback to bilateral trade. NAN industry body FitChi, however, said it hopes the hike is a temporary phenomenon and urged both countries to work towards a long-term solution. NAN While this move is unfortunate and will have a clear bearing on our exports, we hope that this imposition of higher tariffs will be a short-term phenomenon and that a permanent trade deal between the two sides will be finalized soon, said FitChi President Harshavardhan Agarwal. Gold and silver declined on Thursday after the U.S. Federal Reserve kept interest rates unchanged, and the likelihood of a rate cut in September has decreased. In Mumbai, the price of gold stood at Rs 91,700 per 10 grams for 22 carat and Rs 1,000,030 per 10 grams for 24 carat. BSE index heat map after the announcement of 25% tariffs on Indian goods along with a penalty due to India's high tariffs and business with Russia. Trump in his Truth Social said he didn't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together, for all I care. We do have done very little business with India, their tariffs are too high, among the highest in the world, he added. NAN and all indices of BSE, including benchmark Sensex, BankX, Sensex 50, Sensex Next 50, Bharat 22 index were trading in the red territory in the morning session. NAN and stock market news today live. All sectors, including pharma, FMCG, IT, bank, and oil gas were trading in red in the morning session on Thursday. NAN Eternal, SBI Life, JSW Steel, Tata Steel were the top gainers in the morning. Bharti Airtel, Dr. Reddy Laboratories, Eicher Motors were top losers. Stock market news today live updates in the 30 Sensex pack. Only 4 stocks were trading in green in the morning session as of 922 am. Stock market news today. Rupee opens at 5-month low of 87.69 against USD in the morning on Thursday, after the Trump's 25% tariffs announcement on Indian goods. Sensex opened 590 points or 0.70% lower on Thursday morning at 80,695.50. Nifty was down 182 points or 0.73% in the opening session at 24,642.25. Stock market live updates. India's IT services sector won't be directly impacted by the new tariffs, but indirect effects could be significant. The Indian IT sector isn't directly hit by tariffs, but ripple effects like cost inflation could lead to reduced discretionary tech spending, said Nitin Bhatt, technology sector leader at EY India. Nirav Karkera of Fisdom added, IT is already grappling with macro headwinds and a demand slowdown. This news adds to its burden. Top IT firms such as Infosys, HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra, and LTI Mindtree, heavily exposed to US retail and manufacturing, may face higher pressure than more diversified players like Coforge, Infosys, or Persistent Systems. Trump tariffs on India live updates. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced a 25% tariff on Indian imports starting August 1, a move that is expected to raise prices for American consumers across key sectors such as smartphones, textiles, auto parts, and jewelry. The announcement, made on Truth Social, cites India's high tariffs and non-monetary trade barriers, though analysts say the move could backfire for the U.S. economy. Stock market live updates today. The stock markets are set to weaken on Thursday in reaction to Trump's tariff announcement. The Gift Nifty futures were down 129 points, or 0.52, at 24,725 at the time of going to print. Markets will react negatively, said Nilesh Shah, MD, Kotak Mahindra AMC. Despite the unpredictable policy making of the US, the market was expecting a tariff deal to work out as long-term US-India strategic interests are aligned. Markets will hope for a taco trade if better senses prevail. Taco stands for Trump always chickens out. Shares of companies in export-oriented sectors could be impacted the most on Thursday, Shah added. Trump tariffs live updates. Copper futures in the U.S. saw a steep fall following the announcement of President Donald Trump that the upcoming 50 tariffs on copper imports would exempt refined copper. The new tariffs, which will come into effect on Friday, August 1st, will apply only to semi-finished copper products like pipes, wires, rods, tubes, and copper-intensive goods such as fittings, connectors, and electrical components, the White House confirmed. The market was expecting broader tariffs on copper that would impact the overall copper trade, including refined copper. But the exemption dashed the hopes of the industry, leading to a steep fall of copper futures. Stock market news today. Live Gift Nifty on the NSE 9 traded lower by 179 points, or 0.73%, at 24,675, signaling that Dalal Street was headed for a negative start on Wednesday. Latest blogs.